Mike, check 1212. It's the Y2K collector, and I should be happy right now, but I'm not. A big part of me should be excited at the fact that GameStop decided to throw us one more bone at the end of the year by bringing back the buy two, get one. But when I went on their website to actually look at what they had, I had to make a video. Now, this is Christmas Day, and I wasn't going to make a video today, but this just warrants a video because I know that there are going to be a lot of people who get the notifications in their inbox and they're going to hear about the buy two get one and they're going to jump on their website and try to see what they can pick up. So first, the thing that I want to say is that there is definitely pricing manipulation and game availability manipulation that happens when GameStop runs these promos. I used to question it before, but it's super obvious now. And I have one clear example, and not just that. GameStop is completely off. Like they have taken this retro thing, and it's clear that they're trying to milk it for all they can. So much to the point where, before they used to price things wrong, in a sense that you were able to find expensive games for cheap. Now they're just overcharging for games that really aren't worth anything. Prime example is Spider-Man Web of Shadows on the Nintendo DS. Now, in their system, they must think that all Spider-Man Web of Shadow games are really expensive, but they're not. I was blown away last week when I saw that they had a copy of Spider-Man Web of Shadows on the DS for $66. When you look on their website today, because they are doing the buy two, get one, they decided to inflate the price of Spider-Man Web of Shadows from $66 to $84 on the DS. Now, that right there was everything that I needed to know to let me know that GameStop is trying to mitigate their losses by running these buy two, get ones through price increases, which completely defeats the purpose and makes trying to take advantage of that deal not even a deal anymore. So, and honestly, to GameStop, if you don't think that people are going to notice this, that's dumb, because anyone who shops at GameStop as much as I do or as much as anyone does, you're going to notice the price changes from day to day, week to week. And I noticed it before, but this one was just egregious. If you go on GameStop's website right now and look up Spider-Man Web of Shadows on the DS, it's $84. Not only is that a almost 20 to 25% price increase from what it was before, but it's also way off of what the price of that game is. That game is like $15 on eBay. So I don't know what GameStop is doing. And like I said, when they get it right, they get it right. But when they get it wrong, they get it wrong. And over the last 2 to 3 weeks, they've really just been getting it wrong. It's not to say that you can't find games at GameStop, because you can find games at GameStop, but the pricing is just crappy. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. I don't know if I'm going to buy anything during this buy two, get one deal. I really don't. I'm going to try to see if I can go to a few stores and see if I can get anything, in person. If I can, then cool. And thank you, GameStop. But I'm really disappointed in some of what I'm seeing just online with some of the online promos. Now, unless a bunch of people caught this online promo and decided to just destroy the online inventory, I'm pretty sure they're shadowing, like they're hiding titles. When these promos aren't running, there are tons of N64 games, Super Nintendo games, Dreamcast games. There's a lot of games you can buy. But somehow, the minute they do this promo, the only thing you see are Xbox 360 and PS3 games, and a very weak selection of true retro games like Super Nintendo. And it's all the same stuff: Super Mario World, Super Mario All-Stars, Super Smash Bros. Melee, Super Mario Sunshine. It's like the same 4 games that they probably have a lot of inventory for that they want to get rid of. And this is more of like an attempt to clear inventory. Again, I'm not hating on that. Do you, GameStop? You have a business to run. No one said that you have to make collecting easier for me, right? Like, I'm over here getting mad at them. Like, they have a business to run, but still, it's kind of disappointing, especially when you've been spoiled. And I think that's really what it boils down to. I have been spoiled. I have been spoiled with really good promos. I've been spoiled with being able to find good games at a reasonable price. And I guess now that there is a tightening of the belt, we all feel it, including myself. So that is what that is. With all that being said, in 2024, I did, and I'm just going to switch topics right now, and I want to talk about a little bit of an evolving taste. I've always been a, hack and slash, run and gun, shoot 'em up, beat 'em up type of guy. But during 2024, I started to really lean more into a genre that I've never been a fan of, which is horror games, right? And it was really a slippery slope, and it was like certain games led me to other games, and it really was the PS3 that got me into it. So I've always been a fan of Alice Madness Returns, but if you've ever played this game, there's definitely a like horror scary side to this game. Yes, it's open, it has like this open world feel, and it's very magical, and it's very like mind bending type of game. But there's also this horror aspect to it too that was very intriguing to me and caused me to keep on playing this game. And so this is kind of, I think, that the gateway. Alice Madness Returns was my gateway into like the horror genre. From Alice Madness Returns, then you have a game like Yakuza Dead Souls, which isn't like the scariest game in the world, but again, you're dealing with dead souls. It's a little bit more on the scary side. It's a little bit more on the horror side. It leads me down there. And these are games that I've had in my collection for some time. Then you have Splatterhouse, which again, Splatterhouse is really a beat 'em up when you think about it, but it is more of a horror style beat 'em up. It's a more scarier type of game. Has more scary elements to it. It's not just like a random like Streets of Rage style beat 'em up, like a Urban Rain or like a Bouncer or like a beat down type of game. It's a 3D beat 'em up, but it's still based on like a horror theme. So these are games that were already in my collection already. Well, as we went into 2024, I started to really dig into some of the Silent Hill games because I already had Silent Hill 1 in my collection for a really long time, which I bought purely for nostalgia. And then I had picked up a copy of Silent Hill 2 because I ran into a copy at a Goodwill like 2 or 3 years ago. So when GameStop was doing some of their 4 under 20 for 40 promos, and I was looking for titles to like meet the quota to like get the promo, Silent Hill Homecoming was one of those games that I looked into. And when I put this game in just out of curiosity, just to be like, what's this game about? And to be quite honest with you, these games have a way of like sucking you in. Like, yeah, they're creepy and they're a little bit scary, but there's just something about them that makes you want to keep playing them. And I think for me, it's like that curiosity. It's probably the same thing that makes people want to watch horror films. There's like this strange curiosity to it that makes you want to keep playing it. So then I got into Silent Hill and I picked that up. So then I saw Silent Hill HD collection, which was also I picked up during their 4 under 20 for 40. And I knew that I had Silent Hill 2, the hard copy, and I had a Silent Hill 1, but I had never had a chance to pick up Silent Hill 3, which I know is another expensive Silent Hill game. So I said, you know what? I've played Silent Hill 1, I've played Silent Hill 2. Through this, I can actually get a taste and see what Silent Hill 3 is like. Although I've heard that the original Silent Hill 3 on the PS2 is much better than this PS3 version. I wouldn't know because I've never owned it or played it, but you guys can let me know down in the comments. But that led me down the Silent Hill route, right? So now I have Silent Hill Homecoming and then Silent Hill Collection. Well, one day I happened to be at another GameStop and I ran into this guy. So then they had Silent Hill Downpour. And this was when they were doing this was, I think, during their like fall buy two, get one. And so I picked this one up. Oh, no, actually, I think this might have just been a standalone purchase. I think I just used some coupons to pick this up. But I saw this one. It was underpriced. The Konami gets me every time, and I was already intrigued by the other Silent Hill games that I picked up. So I said, you know what? I'm going to try this one out. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't play a lot of this one, but much like some of the other Silent Hill games, there was an intrigue to it. It was like, I could see myself like playing more and more of this if I give it more time. And these games are a little creepy. Don't get me wrong. I have kids, so it's a little bit more difficult for me to play these games because my kids are often around. So like, I really got to like it's got to be like late at night and I got to be alone and, to play these games. But then that just adds another level of creepy to it, right? Like playing Silent Hill at like 1 a.m, like with all the lights off, everyone's in bed. It's kind of creepy. I'm not going to lie. So that got me into that. And then this is what really kind of opened things up for me because Earlier in the fall, when I was doing like a clear out of some of like my lower end games, I had taken a bunch of like Xbox 360 games and PS3 games, like some of my cheaper ones, to a store near me, and I was looking to, like, it was a store where basically like you get 50% of the value in cash, or you could get like 60 to 70% in store credit. I'm always looking to maximize value, so if there's something in the store, I'll just take the game versus the cash. So I used the credit to pick up this copy of Saw 2 and another game that day. I can't remember the other game. And I remember when I came home and I put this in, and I remember as soon as the game starts off, it starts off, I can't remember if it's this or the original Saw, but it starts off with you having like this cage on your head, and you have like you have like a timer to like take it off, and if you don't take it off in time, it, like, I guess it like crushes your head or something like that, or impales your face or something. I can't remember. But I remember like doing that part of the game, and then I was like, okay. And then like you go to this level where you're like in this bathroom, and you have to like look for clues around you to like unlock doors and stuff. And I realized like the Saw games, like Saw and Saw 2, and of course the first Saw, these are more like puzzle games. Like, yeah, they're creepy and they're horror games, but they're more like puzzles. Like, you have to figure out, like, use the things in the rooms around you to figure out how to get out of them. And I thought that that was actually pretty cool. Like that's cool. It's creepy. Like the ambiance is scary. That definitely draws you in. But what you have to do in these games is actually pretty cool too. So that's kind of what drew me in. Then coming out of the Saw, when I got into the Xbox, I got into The Suffering. Now, The Suffering was just a game that I picked up because I had gotten an original Xbox in like new condition, I might add, and I didn't have any Xbox games, and I was already on like the Saw wave. And The Suffering, when I watched some gameplay footage, I was like, this kind of reminds me of Saw a little bit. Only like you're in jail, and like you're trying to break out of a prison, and like there's these monsters that are in there, and like you got to team up with the guards to figure out what's going on. But I played a little bit of this and I was like, oh, this is interesting too. Like, this is another one of those kind of like horror games that's somewhat interesting. It kind of got me into it. So then from there, I started doing more trades, and I ran into this copy of Fatal Frame 2, which is a game that I had heard a lot about. Fatal Frame 1 and Fatal Frame 2. I've never ran into a copy of Fatal Frame in the wild. And mind you, all of these games I've found in the wild. Like, picked all of these up in the wild, and, you know, didn't go online and just start buying horror games. These are just games that I found. They were available to me when I was looking to make trades, and so I picked them up. Fatal Frame 2 was another one of those ones that I just picked up because it was available. It was in a trade. I was, trading at a local store. The guy gave me an awesome trade, and I picked up Fatal Frame 2. Never really got a chance to dive into this one too much, but from the footage that I saw online, it was another intriguing one, so that's what kind of led me to Fatal Frame 2. Shadow Hearts was a game that I picked up over the summer. This one I don't think is as much of like a horror, survival horror as some of the other games, but I had already had Shadow Hearts Covenant, which was like a mixture of gameplay styles that I think was more like to what I traditionally like. But when I saw that they had this copy of Shadow Hearts at GameStop over the summer, and it was like basically $65, it was almost 50% off what the going rate was. I think at the time it was like 120 to 140. So I went ahead and added this one to my collection, and I realized I was slowly building up like this section in my game collection of like horror games. I had a lot of the Silent Hill games. I had, I don't have any of the Resident Evils because, I just never really got a chance to get into that genre, but I did have some of those. Well, I say all that to say that over the past weekend, or over the holiday weekend, I had a chance to pick up this bad boy, which is obviously, everyone knows what this is. This is Rule of Rose, a very popular PlayStation 2 game, probably the second most popular PlayStation 2 game behind Kuon, or however you say it. And I traded this. I spent no money on this game. This was a pure trade. So purely traded for this game with a local reseller. And I gave up, I think, a good amount to actually pick this game up, but it allowed me to do somewhat of a purge. I was able to get a lot of games out of the collection that I've been trying to remove out of the collection for quite some time. In fact, the bulk of the games that I got rid of were games that I had tried to sell at a trade event a few months prior, like back in October around Halloween. And I wound up trading away the Castlevania collection. I had the anniversary edition with like the the art piece that goes on the wall. So I gave up the Castlevania collection, the anniversary edition. I gave up Axiom Verge 1 and 2, the collector's edition of that, with the shadow box in it. I gave up the collector's edition version of Flint Hook and Mercenary King. So 3 collector's editions for the Switch. I gave up 4 Wii games, including Mario Kart Wii, Super Mario Galaxy. What else did I give up? Wii Sports Resort. I gave up a Switch Resort game, a couple Super Nintendo games, Super Mario World and Super Mario All-Stars. And I think that was it. So I gave up a good chunk of games to pick up Rule of Rose. I thought it was a pretty fair deal from a value perspective. But those the big box Switch collector's editions are games that I've been wanting. I've been slowly getting them out of my collection, like little by little. And those were some of the last 2 big box collector's edition Switch games that I had in my collection. And I knew if I was going to trade for them, I wanted to either sell those or trade for them for something significant. And to me, Rule of Rose was a significant pickup. You don't see copies of Rule of Rose every day. And this copy was in mint condition, near mint condition. And so I went ahead and added this one to the collection. And now it's a part of this growing, section of like survival horror games that I have in my collection. I don't have a huge section of it, but I do have a section for it. And these are games that are intriguing to me. They do, they get me curious. They definitely get me curious. And that's what you're going to see in 2025. I do want to venture off into different genres, but I want it to happen naturally and for it to be a natural progression. I'm not going to jump into a new genre and just start buying a bunch of new games. But if I run into them in the wild, like I ran into all of these games in the wild, I traded for about 70% of these games. I think only a couple of them I bought at GameStop on discount. That's the way I'm going to get into different genres, is if they just naturally find their way to me. So thankfully, this Rule of Rose was a Facebook Marketplace deal. It made sense. It was with someone local, someone that I'm familiar with. And we made it happen. And it was a great deal for me, and it was a great deal for them. So say all that to say that 2024 is ending with a bang for me. I'm glad that I picked up Rule of Rose and wasn't depending on GameStop's buy 2 get 1 for any more deals, because that is it looks lame. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think of survival horror games. Are you into these types of games? And also, what do you think of GameStop's buy 2 get 1 and their pricing, the games that they're playing with pricing? Let me know if I'm the only one noticing this. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a very, very Merry Christmas. Hope you got everything you wanted today. Hope you got to spend some time with friends and family today, most importantly. And if you have not yet, make sure you watch A Charlie Brown's Christmas and A Christmas Story, 2 of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. Alrighty, you guys, take it easy, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.